The forces of change that loom large on the horizon present opportunity as well as challenges in public administration. The challenges that public administrators face make their work interesting and worthwhile, even under dire circumstances. One should bear this in mind as the next generation of public servants assume the responsibilities of those who went before them. As we move further into the 21st century, public administration remains saddled with contradictory roles that require public servants to balance competing values. Responsiveness, competent performance, protection of rights, and sensitivity to community values are vital traditions in American democratic governance. Major demographic, technological, economic, and political forces will drive change in public administration. Public sector organizations currently face major issues due to retirements, workforce transition, and succession planning. Rapid turnover will continue as an issue for at least the next decade. Succession planning poses additional challenges for identifying and acquiring the kinds of abilities that will be needed well into the future. The flattening of public organizations, increased emphasis on customer service, and the need to build collaborative partnership place greater emphasis on recruiting individuals who can deal with ambiguity and conflict. In the years ahead, most local communities will grow in size and be composed of an older and more diverse group of citizens. The patterns of diversity are not the same throughout America. Most ethnic and racial minorities are concentrated in major urban centers in particular states. Future public servants will be challenged by the graying and browning of America to craft and implement policies to take into account the unique age, cultural, and language needs of various populations. This will be especially true in the delivery of social services and public education, where scarcity of resources is already straining the capacity of the public service system to meet existing needs. The gap between the rich and the poor in the United States has grown over the past several decades. There are clear implications for public administrators of the growing income gap between the bottom and the top of the economic spectrum. Politically, it means heightened tension between the haves and the have-nots, and this can easily spawn grassroots movements. Wide disparities of wealth in democratic societies typically leads to political instability. Our political parties have been highly polarized and seemingly incapable of finding any common ground. It is likely that U.S. governments will face continued financial stress for the foreseeable future. Many officials have been sounding the alarm for decades over rising debt, growing costs of entitlement, and the ownership of U.S. debt. Jurisdictions depend heavily on property tax revenue, which has been severely restricted by a combination of property tax limitations and a depressed housing market. The scarcity of public funding often pushes public administrators to the nonprofit and commercial sectors in search of alternative funding. On the positive side, moving beyond the public sector opens opportunities for broader public and advocacy group support for public projects. Local jurisdictions have grown dramatically since the 1960s. The pressures that have created these governing entities are not going to dissipate in the foreseeable future. In fact, they will likely continue to increase. As a result, local jurisdictions are preoccupied with issues of taxes, tax bases, annexation, infrastructure provision, land improvement, zoning, and the provision of services. The rapid growth of the information age has contradictory consequences for work and government. On the one hand, it arms everyone with access to more information and provides them with the opportunity to share this information more widely with one another. But more information does not mean more knowledge and better informed decision-making. Excessive information can create information overload and pose increased challenges. It can complicate choices and steer citizens in the wrong directions in which choices to make. Data overload can produce confusion, conflict, and indecisiveness. What does the future hold for public service in the face of the many drivers of change? One thing is certain. Future public servants will play a major role in helping the American people cope with such changes and in shaping their meaning.